Yeah, so it's a nitpicky thing, but we're going to be nitpicky today. So if your widow positions themselves by the edge, then that's totally resable. And the fight goes on as normal. But because your widow was back here, first of all, she was vulnerable to the Junkrat spam. And then second of all, she can't be rezzed back there. You see the Junkrat spam come in. I wish you could play this in slow motion. The Junkrat spam has to go over this wall. But if she's right up here on this corner, not going to get hit by that.
Okay. Yeah, I remember he got picked off pretty early and was not able to get res.
He did grapple up onto the right building, though, which is good. If he had grappled up onto this first building there, he was super out of position. Ooh. Your Moira got DPS'd by an Ana. Your Moira should be playing right behind your Reinhardt. She should not be this far back where the other team has line of sight to her.
Okay.
In fact, most nobody should be. You pretty much definitely want to stay right up behind your Reinhardt shield for this push. Now you don't have the res on your attack. Your Mercy got picked? How did that happen? Oh, shoot. Why was she up there? Okay, so I don't know what she's doing up here. But she just killed herself. She should not have gone up there. I get that the Reaper was low, but not a good decision.
I kind of missed what happened. Where did she end up being?
It's kind of difficult to see because the quality disappears real quick here, but watch her fly up. She's right here. Hard to see, I know, but that's where your Mercy is.
Okay. Yeah.
And she gets shot in the face point blank by the Junkrat.
I saw that.
Your Widow keeps you in this. Your Widow's really good.
Yeah, he is. Sorry if it's hard to tell what's going on sometimes. I just didn't know how to record this.
No, it's okay. This is pretty good. Your Widow got DPS'd by an Ana, and your Reaper stayed way too long in this team fight over here. Okay. Somebody got slept. I can't tell who it is. Your Reaper's up here.
Yeah, that's our Mercy that's left.
Okay. Your Widow should not try and take a fight versus an Ana unless it's at really long range, and even still, she should be cautious. She could have SMG'd, that would have been fine, but she should back out and get out of this. And your Reaper uses his Wraith here in a second. Or maybe he already used it. Yeah, okay, so he uses it right here. This is another minor thing, but it's very good. Your Zarya bubble should not overlap with Wraith form. You should Zarya bubble him when he gets low health so that he can get some free health without taking damage, and then he can Wraith form out. But that's a waste of a Zarya bubble and a Wraith form because he tries to stay in and dies again. That's the second time he's done that, and your Mercy should not have gone up there.
finesse this.
Well, it's hard to do with Deathball, and specifically hard to do with your team comp. Widow's not good on point B, neither is Reaper, or Reinhardt, or Zarya. You guys also got really spread out. And a hard reset was called, and your Moira's feeding.
Alright, we gotta switch off the Widow. Like, the Winston's just gonna dive you.
Hey, still able to hear me?
Where's this Junkrat that he keeps on killing our healers?
I can't hear you.
High ground.
Hello?
Hello. Okay. That's working.
Okay. Who was calling during that time period?
Actually, I didn't have the I had the audio routed to a different audio device so I wasn't hearing, but it should have been our Thumper, the Reinhardt.
No, somebody keeps calling to wait.
So yeah.
Going further back.
Alright, wait,
The-
wait.
That's our
The
Mercy.
person who calls that. Okay.
Are they on low ground? Because I have Shatter. We can move in.
They sound tilted. I don't know if they are, or if that's just how they always sound, or what, but they should not calm like that if they sound tilted. It's important not to sound tilted in your comms. Whether that's just your normal voice tone or not, you should make an effort to not sound tilted.
Where are we getting picked from? Where's this Junkrat that he keeps on killing our healers?
High ground. Top left.
Alright, let's go through the flank here. Guys, let's shatter through the flank.
Group.
Hello? The two people that are on payload. Come here and get guys, where are you going?
Wow, that was super uncoordinated. In this situation, you need to try and get underneath here. Like, keep as many squishy people under there as you can.
To force them to get on payload?
Yeah. So let me go further back here. Your squishy targets are vulnerable out here because Reinhardt can't protect them from the high ground, right? But if you take all your squishy targets and speed them under here, or just wrap them around under there, and you let your fat people push payload, like specifically your Reinhardt, he can sit on payload and get healed, and for the most part, just leave his shield down, maybe flash it a little bit, but they're not going to kill him because everybody's going to be healing him from under here. So he can just sit on cart as it pushes around, and then when they have to come down to payload, they either leave a DPS up there who has no line of sight to your squishies, or they bring everybody down, and now they're all vulnerable to something like a Death Blossom or an Earth Shatter or a Graviton. Another option for this fight is you can run your Zarya up under there and get your Reaper high ground right here, and you can Graviton the floor, and Reaper can Death Blossom this whole group. It's a risky combo because Defense Matrix is strong, but Defense Matrix isn't going to absorb the entire Reaper ult. And they don't have a defensive ult on their team. Like, they have Coalescence and Nano Boost, but they don't have anything like Transcendence or Beat Drop to stop it. So that would be a viable combo here too. But either way is better than staying out here in the open, where you're free to get shot. And you're super split right now. I can't even see two of the members of your team. Oh, they're down here. Yeah, there's massively split up.
We gotta take this high ground, guys.
So what happens here is your Reaper tries to make a play. and your Genji dashes in straight, Genji should not be dashing into this area because he's likely to get picked or he doesn't have it to escape. He should just jump up there or wall climb up there, and then maybe dash out at an angle and then drop back down where he's safe and get some heals. But he's not really going to get any kills, and if he tries to stay up there very long, then he's going to get killed. So dashing into that with no real escape,
It's a bad idea.
not a good idea. Yeah, the Reaper ult here was a nice idea, but you need to right. You need to make the D.Va commit to the payload before you go up here and Reaper ult, because he gets one, but then the D.Va just matrixes the rest of it. She ends up losing her mech probably, and then doing that. But this is a really good Valkyrie.
Push these two squishies. Push these two squishies. One person on card. Push these squishies.
Oh, Winston up top. Winston up
Where did your Genji go?
I get killed by the mine of Junkrat.
Okay, no, Genji goes after Ana, gets anti-healed, full HP.
I believe you get killed by Junkrat again.
Okay, yeah, and Ana over there. Okay, so that one just seems like, I can't exactly see what happened, but it seems like being aware of where your team is positioned, and the kind of support you have as Genji. So, are you the Genji player, by the way?
Oh no, I'm not.
Or
I wasn't
okay.
in that game sadly
oh, that's
because
unfortunate.
I had lag spike for a whole week after the Mora patch. So
Ooh, nice.
at least they fixed it.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Genji needs to be more aware of where his team is at. Because even though he's not really going to make much of an impact when it comes to killing this Winston, at least he's not going to die out of position.
Okay. Because right now he's way too far for Mr. Rez.
Yeah, and there's nothing that anybody can do about that. And so even though you won this team fight, you're now down in players, and the other team has high ground advantage, and you no longer have a Genji.
high ground, guys. We gave it right back to him.
On that, we should just have used the payload as cover and try to deadball behind it.
Most teams auto swap to dive here, just so that they can get somebody on high ground.
We've got
But
holding high ground.
I don't know who's pointing out that you gave them high ground, but second point, Dorado is so strong for the defenders because they can walk out of spawn and just walk up a set of stairs to get high ground. And they don't have to climb any walls or jump up any buildings or anything like that. And that means they can run this soldier and he can walk onto high ground. Because, like, let's say the attacker team has a soldier. Soldier's obviously good on high ground, but it's hard to get your attacking soldier onto high ground. The defensive soldier is easy to get him up here. So taking high ground from the other team on point B Dorado requires a dive comp, or it requires you push the cart to S that line, and then you can push from behind church. Right? You can push of your own, which would be really hard to do with a Reaper and Genji combo. Like, if you push this way, you have no rim. If you push around this way, you can... That was awful. You can take them off high ground, but even still, you're going to end up dropping on a point and trying to push it in. And basically, you're trying to survive and kill the people on the cart faster than the people on high ground can kill you guys. So, Deathball is very difficult on this point. If you go back and watch any like Season 3 professional games on Dorado, there's a lot of teams that get stalled out on point B. In this situation, there's not really anything you can do. The Junkrat can literally just dive your team. The other team way over invested in this.
Can you guys hear me? I'm just literally talking to myself.
nobody's listening right now. Y'all are off kind of doing your own things. Listen to the shot call.
Do you want to secure the high ground and go and dive on them?
We probably need to, yes.
Okay, switch to dive.
Just go grab.
You guys have had this graph for forever and haven't created an opportunity to use it either.
If I remember right, it gets used right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's because
Yeah.
they like specifically called it and they tried, and that was a really good graph.
Too much tank in it. That's not squishy though.
It's fine. It's fine because now the other team doesn't have any tanks, right?
But we had to come at the that blossom though.
I don't think you did.
Can you
I don't.
We used it.
Because he's very low. Victor Donut is very low on ultimate charge. So yeah, you pop it.
Yeah. So okay. So the blossom comes in.
Reptons comes in.
So
Oh shit, I need healing.
Yeah, on the left of church, near the bridge.
mhm. Yeah, I know that you pop it. I don't think it was necessary though. How much health did this diva have?
It was pretty low.
Yeah, she just gets desuited with standard shots
Oh shit, I need healing.
and
And then
flings.
the
The blossom didn't hit anybody.
Get this junk right in the room.
It didn't.
Okay. Fucking animate.
Because you got a really tank heavy grav, you probably should have comboed the blossom with it instead of the blade, but it's
and
not.
keep the blade for another fight, trying to get
Mhm.
some squishy.
Yeah, that's a super like split second decision thing that has to happen though.
We didn't have the that blossom in time though, so
Yeah,
it would still have been the blade. Well, unless we had known that the Reaper would have. I don't believe he called it.
I need help.
no. So
I'm not too early.
this is
Blade.
okay. But your team composition is super split. You're kind of lucky that the other team doesn't really know what to do against this. You're also kind of lucky that you're running so much healing. That was another really quick blade. Looking at the team comp here for a second, you have dive, and you have death ball. And so the three characters on the right are going to be sitting on cart, and the three characters on the left are going to be pushing the high ground. If the other team knew what they were doing, they would counter these three characters on the left, which they have the heroes to do it. And then your three characters on the right would get no value because they'd be fighting a losing fight on cart. So I would have swapped the Zarya for a Diva a long time ago, and
Well, it was because but
Yeah.
probably he wanted to hold on Grav.
yeah, a lot of the biggest issue with Zarya is right a huge issue that costs teams minutes off the clock. Is they'll be like 70 to grav, and you hit that point of the map, like Dorado point B, and it's like, all right, let's get a Diva, and they're like, I'm 70 to grav, and you're just like, okay, because Graviton's a good ult, and then they build up their grav and they die, and they're like, I've got grav, and you're like, okay, we'll keep the Zarya, go back into this, and then they want to wait for that perfect grav, and really what they need to do is they need to swap if they don't already have it, but if they do have it, they need to run in there and they need to find at least two people and just drop it on them. And then you need to make sure you kill those two people so that the grab wasn't totally wasted. When the team fight, push the card a little ways. You're probably going to end up getting wiped off of it. Swap the Zarya out for a Diva. Doesn't matter how close she is to grab, because sometimes just the hero value is way more than the ultimate value. Your Zarya is not getting a lot of value. While the Graviton might be huge, the Zarya itself isn't getting a lot of value. And so having a Diva who gets more consistent value would be way better than having a Zarya who occasionally has a really high value play.
Gotcha. At some point in time, do you think we could go over like recognizing when we need to capitalize on the enemy team's bad comp, like how they could have done with us.
You just look at what they've got and think about what your advantages are over it, right? Like if you look at the other team's composition right now, they have dive tanks and they also have double hit scan. Which means that if you play, and you guys have a Reaper, which is awesome against this, and the Genji's fine too. If you guys play far enough back, you can really mess up those tanks when they jump into you, because they don't have any support. Like they have damage support, but they don't have any actual support. Now, what you need to do this is a Reinhardt, somebody who can cut off this incoming damage and healing, because these three heroes, if they have to shoot through a Reinhardt shield to heal their Winston or support him with damage or something like that, then you guys can use these two heroes, and if you had a diva here, you could use her.
So the actual
really
combo of
just
things.
burn down that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The actual combo of things that would have needed on this would have been Reinhardt Winston and or Reinhardt Diva.
I would go with a Reinhardt Diva. It's really good right now. Reinhardt Zarya synergy is really strong, and a lot of people just automatically think of that. But Zarya was strong when Roadhog was strong, because she's pretty hard counter to Roadhog. And the team is running double hit scan though, and they're running dive tanks. Plus Ana and Moira. Now, Defense Matrix isn't as strong as it used to be, but it can still eat Moira's healing balls and damage balls. It can still eat Ana shots, nades, sleeps. It can help absorb some of that damage coming in from those hit scan. And more importantly, your Diva is actually going to put out way more damage onto a tank than a Zarya will. Unless your Zarya's got super high charge, the Diva's damage on a Winston is going to be higher, which makes her a better counter. She can also follow him out. If he's low HP, she can dive after him and finish him off, or she can boop him away when he tries to jump in. So she's just really good versus Winston. And she's pretty much good versus everything that the other team is running right now. But a Reinhardt Diva combo would have been really strong here.
Okay.
I'm on point.
Now your Genji built a super fast blade, which let this team fight be a win. Which was awesome. Where was the team? You guys have 5 people alive here. And your Moira gets rezzed. Alright, so you have 6 people. And this is super spread. Alright, so you confirm the kill on the Ana on the left. And
You
just
could kill on
kind
the right, 2 on the left.
just kind of stand in here. So I don't know, like you guys, once you guys actually got some super great kills out here on the outside, and then you guys need to come control this doorway. The other team does not come out of this doorway at all, right? You just need to have maximum control on it. The Zarya tries, but she gets pushed away. The other team ults out of this, and they just don't have what it takes to win the fight. But so those kills on the outside were good, but the other team should not have been allowed to come back in through that doorway easily.
Because you guys weren't contesting high ground at all.
Now I'm gonna jump back.
Alright, well let's just Ryan Zarya drunk ride.
We want to have them restart the map.
You got it to the end, so you got it to the end anyways.
Ask just in case.
Just play it. I don't want to confuse this guy.
It's gonna take him 20 minutes to figure that out.
If he's actually new, I don't think he even knows anyway, so who cares?
What do we want as a second tank?
Get Zarya. We just hold him at the choke.
Yep.
I want to try something other than Moira and Mercy for a change.
Okay. So I
Smash
guess
it.
you'll be standing with Donut kind of further back.
Right.
Okay, well if you guys get dived, don't just call it out.
Magic, when I grabbed from the bottom, did I actually get people?
Yeah, you got like
Yeah,
4
you got
people.
everybody. You got
Really?
everybody. It was like a four-man grab.
Yeah. Wait, the grab was on the bottom?
Yeah, I used it. Like I chucked it from the bottom.
That was kind of risky. Oh my god. Well, it worked.
Yeah, Mute's magic cleared up the high ground.
Incoming in 30 seconds.
That Junkrat kept on like knocking me back. That was kind of annoying. I'm gonna place the trap though.
I just realized Zarya's screen is like glow in the dark. Like
We need to contest this tunnel before they get
Okay,
there.
so everybody says that we need to drop before we get to the tunnel, or we need to rotate before we get to the tunnel. You guys should have a position of the cart where you automatically rotate, right? And that position should pretty much be right here. As soon as the front of the cart hits this line, if the team doesn't rotate, then you won't be set up really well for the fight.
Okay. Never knew that.
Watch for Pharaoh boops or something like that. Can I get the review little?
Go to the stream links and it's Mayhem link.
I got her. I got Tracer behind.
Yeah, that one. Where's that at?
It's in the stream links. So you guys need to be rotating right now.
I got her.
Alright, let's go.
And they're not in position. Your Ana and Soldier need to be positioned on this left side here because they have to rotate the furthest back once they get into choke. So they have the most movement to do. And your Soldier gets killed here, I'm sure. Yep, because he was not positioned properly. So your Ana and Soldier really need to be positioned all the way back here. So they need to be on that left side of that gap so that they can make this rotation the fastest.
Would it be the same be true with McCree?
Yes. Yes. McCree plays a little bit closer though, for a couple of reasons. One, he needs to be constantly within Ana's line of sight so that he can receive consistent healing, unless he's dueling somebody behind her. But even still, he kind of needs to be within her line of sight because he can't heal himself. And then also because his damage fall off is really harsh. So if he's not positioned close enough to the other team, he's not actually going to get a lot of kills. Soldier needs to be positioned back here. But McCree would need to be positioned right here. Another reason is the flashbang. He needs to be able to roll into the other team, or if the other Reinhardt tries for a pin or something, and drop a clutch flashbang. Also by positioning over here, he can cover this whole side and the choke, and the top left there and the window. So that's where McCree should be positioned. So he doesn't need to rotate as far, but he should still be on the left side of the gap because he's slow and Soldier is not.
I'm 80 charge.
Are you healing on the stroke?
Let's kill this one thing. I'm on David.
Your Reinhardt's giving them the point. This cart does not need to come through this choke. It's still good peel.
But
if you let the cart come too far through the choke, then it's actually in your way.
yeah, but if they don't have the payload, they won't have the cover from payload and the healing from it.
That's true, but it's better to have it bottlenecked in choke because it's an easier position to control, right? Like, look at that. Your Reinhardt could easily, he could easily get pushed out past this payload, and now it's within your healer's line of sight and your damage line of sight, right? You, as a Reinhardt, you need to be positioned behind the payload so that it's not blocking heals, so that it's not blocking your support, and also so that you can't get pinned up against it or have it used against you positionally. Because as a Reinhardt, your positioning is super important. So as Reinhardt, you need to be positioned on your side of the payload, which means that you need the payload to stay in that choke because you need to be positioned in the choke as Reinhardt too. How does your Moira die?
What's your charge seed? Are you high charge?
80.
Alright, it's either going to you or Thumper. Be ready.
You wait for them to...
Oh, that's unlucky. Okay.
Jerome, watch top left. Junkrat spamming you crossfire.
Oh, what is that charge? What is that charge?
Where?
Look at this. Look at this. Reinhardt just charges nothing.
Himself out of the fight.
You're trying the Winston on the right.
That
Near
shouldn't
the,
be his job though. He needs to be up in
there's-
front with shields. We need to let
Yeah.
the DPS handle that.
The Reinhardt, like, he can back up and whatnot, but pinning the Winston would be awesome, but the Reinhardt's space is this space right here, because any pin he tries to land in that space is such a short range pin, missing it's going to be really hard unless he's mentally handicapped or something. So he needs to be in the space. He tried a super long range pin, and he's way off. Way off. And not even close. I mean, not even remotely close. This is kind of scary too. I don't know if anybody heard that, but you guys are all you guys are
right
screwed.
after the Mora pick, he used it.
Mm-hmm. I didn't hear any callouts for that, so we're gonna go back and we're gonna listen to these comms a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your charge seed? Are you high charge?
80.
Alright, it's either going to you or
It should go to the Zarya so that she gets grabbed. Depending on
Wait for the tech visor.
yes. Nano Reinhardt versus Dive Comp.
It's
Not
not
so
doing
good.
anything.
Yeah, he's gonna stand there and swing his hammer like a crazy person and not kill anything.
watch top left. Jerome, watch top left. Junkrat spamming you crossfire.
Monkey right by himself.
I didn't even hear Junkrat say his voice line, his ultimate line. Like, I don't hear anything that he, like, gives any kind of indication that he ults.
I didn't
It's
hear it either.
not always easy to hear in the.
Top left. Junkrat spamming you crossfire.
Monkey right.
Nope, no voice line.
Yeah, it just fucking gets popped off. That's unfortunate.
Okay. Does anybody hear the tire though?
I don't think so. It's too late. He goes right over the building.
Yeah. So, unfortunate that there's no voice line. You guys are losing this fight really decisively. If you can, you should try and jump onto cart just to prevent it from moving.
We have 5 ults here.
Let's look to use grab.
Dude.
Are they gonna? They might have it.
Oh, that's not good. You guys, the other team gets some really good staggers here, but you know you're not going to get back into this. So you should be grouping up further back. In fact, you should be grouping up here. Because you have your ults, you need to take high ground so that you have an opportunity to use those ults. You should not be on low ground, because you know you're not going to be able to recontest that. Nobody was even close. And maybe you could get a clutch recontest off with 3 people, but that's not as good of an idea as grouping up with your 5 ultimates and winning a fight decisively right about here. So the positioning on the low ground, pretty unfortunate, because now you're not going to be able to get your 6-man regroup.
Getting high ground.
Just look for high ground. He's an easy pick. He's like way forward.
Shit, Demon's up here with him.
And your Ana's stuck on low ground, which is the exact opposite of where Ana needs to be here.
What's Nano at? Oh,
I have it.
Engage with grab when you're ready. See him. We'll drop.
Yeah, let's look to do this.
Flanking Genji. Tracer? My bad.
Alright, I'm going and I'm.
Okay, so this is a good call with the Graviton.
Go.
It's not the best grav.
Let's do it.
Alright, I'm going.
I understand the call to drop the grav because your Reinhardt went down. But your grav targets here are not the best. Like, it would have been better to grab these people than to grab these people down here on cart, right? I guess that's just a Zarya play. Like, they could have made a better play off of that, but still.
Guys, I have control of the high ground now.
Where's your attack visor? Oh, he went to low ground. The tracer flank was unfortunate. Why did your soldier go to low ground?
For the graph.
It was not Bup.
No,
He
he
was
just
playing the
jumped.
Winston.
He jumped for the graph.
You can shoot them from up here, though. I could get running away from the Junkrat, but he should try and maintain high ground if possible.
He blew it up.
Junkrat's low.
Guys, I have control of the high ground now.
Junk's one.
Let's go back on high ground. Get this tracer, dude.
Tracer's half. No,
Your Junkrat's gonna die.
Tracer, no recall. Behind us.
Yep. Junkrat needed to go to high ground right there. He threw a mine up at this Winston. He needed to mine himself up to this Winston and then shoot that Winston in the face.
Tracer's half. No recall. Okay. Tracer, no recall.
And he's gonna die.
Chasing Winston was also a bad idea.
Yes, it was. Because you let Winston get into a position where he could get healing. He needed to try and get up onto that high ground. Even just to regroup, right? Just let the Winston go. The fight's won. You need to get a regroup up here on high ground quickly so that you can make a play before the cart gets pushed very far. But you've only got
Alright, I'll take it.
2 people on high ground.
Adam's low. Back line.
You're, yeah, massively split.
Diva's behind with me in this moment.
I died to the back line since he mattered, so.
I got booped.
I'm 70, or like I'm 70 on Brad.
Stop him, don't touch him.
I think we should go.
Yeah, I'll go Winston.
Alright, I'm switching off Anna. I'm gonna go Lucy.
Wait, if we go Mercy.
This is a personal thing, not a necessarily strict rule because, well, the meta hasn't developed yet, but I don't like Moira on defense because she has to do damage to do healing, so you have to play kind of aggressive and risky. So either you're going to be jumping onto cart and just kind of dying there, or you're going to have to wait for team fights, and you're not going to get much healing in between team fights, because if you do, then she doesn't have it. Running it with the Anna is a good way to run it on defense, but you also don't have a defensive ult that way. I still think that Ana Lucio or Ana Zen is better on defense. I just personally don't like it on defense unless you're running like a dive comp defensively. So your decision to go with Mercy here and keep the Moira, personally not a fan of it. But again, that's just me. I will say defense pharmacy in a small room with high ground and a ceiling, not a good idea. One, it means that your Pharah is going to be constantly taking damage, which means your Mercy has to be pocketing the Pharah, which means that she's not healing the tanks, which means that somebody else is healing the tanks. And it places your Pharah in a super vulnerable situation just in general. I mean, she got hard countered by a Junkrat right there, which is
Fly straight up, Smagic.
not good.
I got slapped. Are you serious?
And you see the swap off to Genji there.
Would a Roadhog been a good pick for a tank? Against
Roadhog
their
would've been
team
fine
on
here.
defense?
Yeah, I think Roadhog would have been fine. That was a really good graph.
Don't let him get out.
I think
No more ults.
Roadhog would be fantastic here if you had your Zarya swap to Roadhog.
Heals, let me get the heals. Getting fairly close.
Hanzo's interesting. I don't know what the other team is doing.
We got Diva.
Roadhog is good versus the other team's tanks. Roadhog is good with Mercy too, because you can damage boost his hooks and his shots and everything. Damage boosted Roadhog is really scary.
Pick him.
I'm here with you.
Almost there.
He's dead.
Nice.
Everyone's top.
I need healing.
You already have a Reaper though. I don't really know if it's necessary.
To the top, like we have
Okay.
pushing it.
With your team comp, you guys should be trying to play either hallways or payload as much as possible.
Hanzo behind, Hanzo behind.
I don't know if you know this, but you can use Q and E to go up and down with the camera, by the way.
Thank you.
I did not know that.
That way you don't have to look every time you want to go up.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Fun facts. I don't know what that Winston bubble was, but it wasn't necessary. A lot of Winstons like to drop bubble when they jump. You don't always have to. It's on a 12-second cooldown, so you want to avoid that. But there's just a Winston up here, so your bubble is kind
There
of.
was also Diva. Who
Diva?
tried to Diva was flying when he toward.
And she comes up short. And he sees that.
Yeah.
He needs to wait before he drops his bubble here. Because it's just wasted. It doesn't even get destroyed. It just sits there until it times out. And he didn't have it for that. Did the Reaper get anything with his Blossom?
No.
Okay, everything died to his magic before Reaper could hit it with his Blossom. He should have waited.
I'm on monkey.
It wasn't necessary to win that fight either. Smagic's a really good Genji, by the way. Yeah, waste of a Blossom. Especially since the tanks are still alive. Right? Like, the Reaper's primary job is to kill tanks and to control the point. That's where he's most valuable, is on that point killing the tanks. And so any fight that the tanks walk away from is kind of a waste.
60
I'm on high
seconds
ground.
remaining.
They have McCree now. And
They have Hanzo ult.
McCree left.
The other team's composition is super weird.
Hanzo. Chase him.
Well, they still dive with dead ball characters.
Yeah,
Keep fighting it.
they
Fight us in this hallway. It's an advantage.
they're running a Hanzo without a Zarya, which means that Hanzo ult's basically trash. Like, it can be okay in here,
Guys, I'm going
but it's not very good.
he's solo.
And a McCree, their tanks still have no support.
Magic, I'm looking to res you if I get the opportunity.
Your Reaper should just be pushing this Winston.
Nah, don't
Monkey low.
It's a really good team fight from you guys.
Get this Hanzo.
See, Hanzo ult.
You got it right.
It's just,
Get Steva.
it's just not even a point to it.
Ana.
We got it. I'm on point.
That was a good hold.
I didn't even grab just in case they came back.
Let me find the other video.
I remember that scrim triggered me so much. We should have beat them like 3-0. I've got to drop though. Insightful views, man. I appreciate that. Pigeon, fabulous. I'll see you guys later tonight. Thank you again. You guys take care.
See y'all.
He gets really tilted in this video.
He needs
It's
to
good
not
thing-
get tilted.
He wasn't playing in this one, he was just spectating, but he gets super tilted.
If he's spectating, he shouldn't be in comms. Is he in comms?
Not often, it's just when he got... It might have been after the game.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Well, that's
I hope
fine.
it's after the game.
Spec should not be in comms, period. And I mean, unless it's like a team manager who comes in and is like, hey guys, calm down. You know, like, that's one thing. But player spec should not be in comms at all. it's distracting. They have information that the players don't have. If they're tilted, that's even worse.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
go.
it's the university.
Let's go. We can go right side.
We just need to go straight to point and force. If they're in the hallway, good. And we can
Is this guy a Reaper main?
we need to take close quarter contact.
No, I don't think so.
No, just like running Reaper.
Go main then.
I think he mostly plays McCree,
Main, alright?
if I remember right.
5, 4,
We need to engage as quickly as possible.
I'm curious to see how valuable his pick is. The other team is doing weird stuff again.
Right?
But-
Under the high ground. Go under the high ground.
I understand the Reaper pick to deal with the amount of healing the other team has.
Winston on our backlines.
I like the idea.
Just holding everybody else back. Their monkey's
He's
back.
low, he's low, he's low. Nice.
Down. Push into this. Push into this. We have Reaper. Just push in.
Go, go, go. I got speed on you guys.
On.
Good shit.
Nice.
Who's left? Tracer
Tracer.
on point behind us.
Go, let's get him.
Point, point, point.
my ultimate ability is charging.
Yo, Reaper, stay with us.
Stay at the gate.
Reaper,
Stay at the
Reaper,
gate.
stay with us.
You guys should be playing in this space pretty much exclusively. On the point. I even heard somebody said you need to minimize the distance that Reaper
He's freaking
takes to get to his targets.
Tracer on point.
Also, Reaper needs to be controlling that doorway too.
I need healing. I need healing.
He peels back for a tracer there for a moment. He needs to stay up here because if he can prevent the other team's tanks from getting in, then
It's a reflex.
it's fine. You guys can handle the tracer.
Got one.
I'm healing you guys at speed on.
Just keep pushing into them. Yeah,
Almost
no,
got one right below us though. Thank you.
Nice hog. Tracer.
Oh boy.
He's low.
I got Blossom. What do we got?
Stay close to these gates here. We need to minimize the distance between them and us. Like, we need to be super
Alright.
close when they.
I have blade. We can just use.
You guys are trying to hold up here to minimize the distance. But because there's two doorways, they can
That hog needs to use his
split around the Reaper really well.
I'm gonna use.
Left side.
That Blossom was good. It was a really good Blossom. It's better ultimately though. That is a wasted blade. It's a massively wasted blade. If you guys are holding in this space, then the other team has to either push through here, which you guys can deal with pretty easily because a Reaper can control the doorway, or they push through here, and Reaper can flank around.
But if they come to the aggro.
Yeah, if they come from the high ground, then they're not capping the point, and you guys rotate under here.
Okay.
You have speed boost, so you can do that pretty quickly. The other team pushes the mini hallway. Your Reaper can either hold that front line or rotate behind. But yeah, if they come high ground, you guys can just speed boost under here because they're not capping point, right? And then when they commit scary people to point, like Roadhog, and they'll probably commit Winston and Tracer, and her, right? They'll leave Ana and Soldier up here, and then you have Genji and Winston and Diva, who can all just jump those and get those free easy kills while Reaper holds down the point. So you gotta split them up, spread them out, put them in a bad position.
I'm a soldier.
Nice.
Two down.
Yeah, this blade is
Push in on there.
definitely not necessary. The call for no more ults is good,
No,
but
no more ults, no more ults.
Alright, backing up.
you guys won that
I had to use that. My bad.
with the Death Blossom, and the other team was backing out. So as soon as you recognize that the fight's won, should automatically know no more ults.
Switch off them.
The other team is backing out, then you don't commit anything else to it.
Soldier left side.
Yo, 6, get it.
Stand back to the point gate.
Yeah, 6 is fine.
Catch him here. Easier.
That was a really nice deflect.
They're all right side.
Get the monkey. Get the monkey.
Yeah, get him right now.
I got one. I'm putting them back to the spawn.
Lucio fragging out.
Let's go.
Get this first.
before Reaper gets solo ulted. That was a really good fight.
There it is, there it is. A hug on point, hug and Winston on point. Hug low, Winston low.
This lineup looks a lot stronger than your last lineup of players.
You got it, you got it. Good shit, guys. 14-0, That's a dude.
Oh,
Dude, I'm 13-0. Feels bad.
I do believe though the other Genji is better. Because we switched the Genji and the healer.
This is the Pharah map, but you can't run it with a Reaper because Pharah has no follow up on her damage. You gotta run it with Tracer. So that if Pharah hits somebody with a rocket, Tracer can blink in and kill him. You could argue that Genji is capable of doing that, but he's got to wait for like a dash reset opportunity. He can't just go in and get out, and he can't put down damage and that the Pharah can finish off, right? Like if somebody's low, the Pharah can shoot them and then they die. And Tracer can do that, but Genji is going to have a hard time getting people that low consistently enough to get you frags. So Pharah, Tracer, definitely the DPS duo. Reaper, not so much. Given the team comp that you guys have, if you're determined to keep the Reaper, then you got to keep the Genji. But if you are go for the Pharah, like if you're game to run the Pharah, then you have to drop the Reaper. And then I would have run a Lucio, personally, but that's how I do it. Okay, Soldier, also not as good. Especially on this map. Soldier's not very good on this map because he's got no sight lines at all. There just aren't any. And if he tries to sit on high ground, the Pharah is going to peek him and kill him. Or he's going to get jumped and killed.
So do you just rely on your Pharah to kill the other Pharah?
Yep, pretty much. Or you just basically focus on not getting killed by the other Pharah. And that's fine. Your Mercy's comps are really good, by the way.
He's actually not on the team anymore.
That's unfortunate.
Reset, guys, come on.
Yeah, so your Pharah, basically the way the Pharah duels work, when you're running these composite, if you guys had a Tracer, you could jump the Soldier, focus him down, and then your Pharah would have so much room to work with, or if you had a Genji instead of the Pharah, either one. But basically, as Pharah, you want to be focused on the team fight unless you have an opportunity to get right up in their Pharah's face, or their Pharah has an opportunity to get right up in your face, right? And what you need to be able to do is, and this is going into like in depth of Pharah duels, but when the Pharah is going to wait for you to use your movement abilities before she uses hers to get in close to you, because she can get in really quickly and then 2-tap you out of the sky. What you need to do as a Pharah is to make sure you always have a movement ability available so that you don't get 2-tapped out of the sky like that. Or so that you can dodge it and get away. Because if you can focus on the team fight and just dodge the Pharah the whole time, she's going to get no value, especially if she's trying to kill you that whole time and not shooting at things on the ground. If you see her use her movement abilities, then you can just use yours to get into her and then 2-tap her out of the sky. And then same idea, you've got free reign. You can sit up there shooting the things on the ground and you're getting value and she's not. But this time it's because she's dead, not because she's shooting at a gnat in the sky. You guys take a really good fight and somebody DCs, which is super unfortunate.
He's not
Moira wants me. This Moira wants me.
I'm not the owner.
Oh, sorry, you usually are. It's my bad.
Did you call it pause? I mean, it crashed for some reason.
Like 10 years later, at least when we paused, it was like fair or whatever. When we took forever to pause.
No, that was about the same amount of time.
Yeah, but it wasn't mid-fight.
Yeah, it wasn't mid-fight before.
That sounds annoying.
Yes, it is.
Is he still on? Still or...
Can probably skip 5 seconds.
Okay.
Oh, man down. We should disengage.
Are you ready, Donut?
I'm on point.
I'm here.
I'm gonna try to disengage.
Ooh, don't be toxic.
That's weird.
Drone, dog. Come on now.
This kid's like too. Sorry, I was too into freaking destroying you while you were down one. Like really? I'm the one that's being.
He was 1v1ing me and losing.
They're killing me, bro. Oh
66
my
now. God.
Just die.
Don't
Oh.
res.
Back out, back out.
Why are they killing me, bro? That's not. They're trying to kill me right after like I respawn.
Yeah.
They're down one. They're done.
They're down.
Wow, instant pause. Wow.
Oh boy, I can see how this would be tilting.
It's.
I don't think it gets tilted on this map. I think it's the next one.
Next to my orb, so I just have constant healing noise.
Literally, that's kind
me
of
too.
cheap. That's pretty cheap. It's kind of a not so fair game.
I'm gonna give these guys that fat 1-star review.
Yeah. Like they're nice, just they're not very efficient.
He thought us yelling pause meant something else.
What? Wait, what?
I think we need to take a minute to remember it's just a scrim.
Scrims are important.
Can't learn shit when you're.
When you're
Everybody
pausing
here? Yeah,
all
we
the
here.
time.
Same time. Fairly.
Yeah,
6.
six.
Tell us when you guys.
Let me get you one. Oh heck.
I'm gonna throw a diva bomb.
You guys are super split. This diva's feeding and nobody's killing her. This push is also really weird. So I don't know why 2 people push this way. Because that's not what I wanted. Yeah, their diva goes super deep, and these people are not in position to do anything about that. Or I guess they could shift over here to cut off that escape, but the diva throws herself out of position and needs to die. She actually remax and doesn't get killed.
I'm on point.
Let's get on point, guys.
It was really good by your diva to kill the
I almost have
Pharaoh.
I have yeah, no.
Well, not a good barrage, obviously. Why was it not a good barrage? Let's find out.
I almost have
He was aiming at the Mercy.
Yes, yeah, you gotta wait until she flies before you do that, and you need to be point blank so that you kill her before she gets her fly up again. And he's too high to kill anything else, right? Like if he had barraged right here, then he could have controlled this whole space, which would have been way better than barraging a Mercy, who just spawned in, so you know she doesn't have Valkyrie, right? And her res is terrible in a team fight. She's going to get killed if she tries to use it, so if he'd been lower and barraged all these people, then that would have been way better.
Yeah, no.
Also, he needs to call his barrages, so that his Mercy can be healing him.
Oh heck, no.
That was a super winnable fight that I hope you guys win this. About Valkyrie.
This freaking Moira wants me.
Mission down.
Is that fair back? Fair's back. Monkey needs to die. Monkey needs to die.
Dump her, I'm just getting all this gold here.
Okay.
Get the monkey, get the monkey.
I'm dead, I'm so dead. Ow,
Get the diva,
yes,
get the
Moira
diva.
heals. Moira heals, oh my lord, yes.
Baby diva.
Let's do it. Let's do
Still
it.
need to hold 100%.
Push in on that. Push in on that.
Yeah, yeah, scary. Very scary. Your ult economy basically has to be perfect here. Not just yours too, but like managing theirs as well.
Ult's okay, good.
I like that soldier positioning up until he gets pushed by a Pharah and bopped on the low ground and then killed. Which is probably what's going to happen.
Sorry, Victory got you.
Because any rocket that Pharah fires into that always going to do damage to him. I mean, unless he hides and waits for everybody to get on point, then he's probably screwed. Your Winston did a dumb thing, also.
As soon as they come in through the choke, we dive in on them. Like, we need Donut to have line of.
So Winston needs to stay up here. Especially with as low as he is. I don't know where your Moira's at. She needs to be watching your tanks. Maybe she's with the Diva? I don't know what your Diva's doing either. She's not anywhere in the frame of the screen. She needs to be with your Winston. Okay, yeah, so Diva shows up late. Mercy ends up having to heal the Winston. Moira's... I don't even know what she's doing.
Oh, nice.
Hey, she got res again. She got res twice.
Of course.
You guys got super split on that defense. Like,
We have to stay on. We can't get off this.
crazy split. Nobody was with anybody that should have been with anybody at all. Right? Like, if you're... Somebody called that you had to play with an LOS of Donut, right? If Donut is here, then his LOS is... this. Which means that you guys need to be huddled up, like, back here, maybe over here even, you know, because your Pharah is going to be up in the sky with the Mercy, and everybody else needs to be grouped up so that Moira's not wasted, so that she can actually heal people. You draw them onto point, let them get into this space where Soldier has LOS, and then you jump them. But when you jump them, you don't just jump onto them, you jump behind them. You know, you control these spaces back here so that they can't get out. That way they're trapped within Soldier's LOS. They're trapped in front of that visor that you've got from that high ground, and bottlenecked onto this point from a worse position. And by doing that, you guys still have high ground if you need to. You can still jump back up there or fly back up there or whatever, and the Mercy can heal you that way. But you just, I don't even know. It was just massively split. Massively split. Super, super unfortunate there.
Alright, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna argue though.
Yeah, and then we can just go left side. Yeah,
Left side
go
jump pad.
Left side jump pad, and then we can force them into that little area.
Okay.
Let me try to get
This would be a way better map to run Soldier than the last map, because this high ground is way better, and his sight lines are way better.
They're here.
Yeah.
I'm engaging. On the Winston.
This Genji's really good too. Oh, unfortunate.
Push in here, like, we're up one.
Good dread, good.
You guys push to jump pad. Nobody bothered to take high ground. If anybody had gone up there, you could have killed the Pharah. Diva probably should have just gone and soloed the Pharah, honestly, at some point. But
I just did it.
the call to, or the idea here, it wasn't necessarily called. The idea here to ignore the Pharah and basically push the other team really hard was a good one. They didn't have a Lucio, which meant that your positioning was way better. So the engage on the other team on the ground was really good.
In this small choke, the Pharah can't do anything. Like, we can get distance on her. Are you healing up front?
Coming top now.
Okay.
If she comes top,
We need to push in. We need to push in here. We have Reaper. We need to push in.
That was a really bad call to push into that. The other team's not in a choke point.
Back out. We need to fight in this choke when they push in. If they're not moving, we don't move.
So do you want to wait until they're actually in that little area?
Yeah, I want to see how this team fight plays out first, but well, Reaper's not good on this map anyways. Okay, so the other team, ideally, you want them to be in here, because then the Reaper can just drop onto them and already be in their face, and you guys are all fighting together, and you can cut off their escape by controlling that backside or this side or that side. You know, you can get a really nice surround on them. And you can be all up in their faces. But if you try and engage in here, you're pushing through a doorway into a team that can literally just run away any which way they want. And that mitigates your Reaper advantage. Especially since the other team is so mobile, right? Ideally, you want to bait out things like Winston shift and then Diva shift. That way they're stuck there and the Reaper has an opportunity to actually burn them down. If you don't do that, they're just going to leave. You guys call to push in. Your Reaper's not in position, so your tanks go without the Reaper. Your Diva gets focused out. And the other team literally, they kite back. They just kite back. And you guys are too far away to kill them.
Back out. We need to fight in this choke when they push in. If they're not moving, we don't move.
Yo, I'm taking up by Diva. I'm done. This Steve is going too short. Nice.
That was a really good Blossom. But that happened. The reason that happened, the reason that worked, goes back to this right here. The other team, both tanks used their shifts, right? Winston used his shift to get himself right here. Reaper killed him. Diva used her shift to get herself up there. And Reaper basically just kills her too. And he knew that the Matrix was low, so he just blossomed into that, and the other team happened to have people in the way. That also got killed. But that happened because the other team's tanks used their mobility to get in, and they couldn't get away from the Reaper.
I crashed again. Fucking crashed. I can't do it.
I'm just gonna skip. At least he just used his ult.
At least.
And then we can get a few picks.
Okay, Moira, and Blade.
Yep.
Use Diva just in case we need it.
I'm coming back to point right now.
The Forest contesting.
Just play defensive. It's 5v6. I'm back now.
Soldier's coming on the side. I think Soldier's coming.
Yeah, so just because the other team doesn't have a defensive ult doesn't mean that they can't counter your Genji Blade, right? Specifically Winston ult, or Winston in general, if you blade a small room that's full of tanks and you don't have a nano, your chances of dying are really, really high. It's a good fight because your Reaper gets back and they're in a small room, so he's able to put out a ton of damage, but
The blade wasn't necessary.
no. The blade was a good call, right? Like, the idea was good, but you needed to wait for a better moment, and Genji's going to be able to recognize that moment if he's any good. He doesn't need to be told when to blade. He should know, hey, they're spread out. I've got 2 or 3 squishies. I can just blade this real quick, you know? Getting a good blade off on their team is also going to be really hard. That's something that I don't think was taken into consideration. She can fly away. She can fly away. She can shift away unless your Genji baits that shift and then dashes into her. She's a tank and she can fly away. He's a tank and he can fly away. And then there's this guy, right? So, getting a good blade off isn't necessarily going to be easy. So rushing it is not a good idea. The other team pushed into a room, maybe wait for their tanks to leave the room, and then blade into it. And you don't have a nano, and you don't have a mercy, so there's no way to get, like, to counter a pharmacy with your blade. That was a really good diva bomb. It was really well placed. Wow. Oh, that is unfortunate. Sorry.
Okay.
I have Moira ult this fight.
No ults, no ults. Get out, Thumper. Nice and safe. Get out, just get out. Moira, heal him. Moira, heal him.
Okay, we need a beat this time.
Yeah, I didn't want to beat because a bunch of people died.
My ultimate is ready to be
Stand spawn, guys.
Oh no.
Beat before.
Oh no.
This goes on for a while.
Oh god, no!
Okay, well.
I don't need to talk about that. What is he do? What is he doing over there next to the pit? There's a hole here. I don't know if your team noticed that or not, but it's a hole, and if you go in it, you die. So, being like,
I think he was taking the shortest way to the team.
honestly, he would have been safer up here, right?
Yeah.
Like, he could have just shifted and set up there.
Oh, he was already there, no?
That's fine. I mean, your whole team is pushing in. If they try and push out and kill him, you can get some kills off of them overextending because he's a Reaper, and the chances of him dying are low. So he's low, but he's got heals on the way. But because he tries to go back,
Okay, alright, let's go, we're going.
Like,
he gets booped.
go to the fucking area.
Okay, we're going back to spawn. We're going back to spawn.
Back up, we can't go in.
Back up, back up.
Get the fair in the back. She's
Back to
super
spawn.
loaded.
I can't. Nobody's with you.
Come here.
She's half.
Just move
Yeah,
up,
also,
move
I need to
up.
make it back to
I'm
me.
here, let's go, let's go.
Move in up.
Okay,
Beat the before we get in, and then blade. I'll Moira ult you through it.
oh, any heals. Ready?
We should have popped the Moira ultimate a bit later, no?
Yes, I was about to say the same thing. The Moira ult right now, not so great. Mostly just because there was not a lot of opportunities to get her. Your diva should have been all over that Pharah too. Because she did a ton of damage between fights. And besides that, it's a really easy kill. She goes after the Mercy, which is nice. And I guess it was good because the Mercy was close to Valk, but I still feel like the Pharaoh would have been a better kill here. There's no way for her to know that, though. But there's nothing to counter the Pharaoh. And if the Mercy tries to go for a res, then she's going to die. I suppose that preventing the Valkyrie is a good thing, but...
What's it half?
Keep seat up, keep seat up.
I can't, not with, Lucio. Nice, here we go.
Diva.
Come on, guys, let's get back over here.
The other diva did a dumb thing, but...
Just stay alive,
Stay by C, stay by C.
Let's win this, come on.
Chase in the back half.
Moira's half. Moira's low. Focus Moira.
Was that Blossom? He wasn't near anybody, was he?
Okay, so I think he was trying to get the Mercy.
Just stay alive,
Stay by C, stay by C.
Moira shifted out of the Blossom.
Oh, I gotcha.
Back half.
Blossom's one of those ults you just kind of throw it and hope. It's kind of like Mirage in the way that you use it.
Maybe D.Va. We got it. Hold down.
I need heals.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, your team also got really, really split here. Right? Like, you capped the point, but you didn't control it, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, the focus should have been on this guy, or on that guy. You've been here fighting longer. Your health pools, like, look at your health pools compared to the other team's health pools, aside from her, because she just respawned. Right? Like, you are losing this fight, whether you think you're winning or not, because you've been in it longer. There's just got a huge regroup. They've still got a Valk, so you need to be playing defensively around this backside of the point and in and out of the building, of course. So you guys go really far forward, and then you get split here. Right? Reaper goes back this way, but the rest of the team wraps around that way.
Soldier's on the high ground.
I got it out healing.
I'm healing you. Watch out for Tracer. What? No, what? They dove me.
Mercy's one.
Yeah, you guys split up super hard in that fight, and it really cost you. Shush. Not bad though, overall. Could have been a lot worse as far as games go.